Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod with Susan Dean. She's a book publisher. She's CEO and founder of Dean Publishing and Production, and we're gonna talk books, author, publisher, and published author, or publishing houses, ghostwriting, everything in between today. This pod is brought to you by podpar.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast, you can go to podpar.com. We help you do that the scalable and unconventional way, monetize with a podcast, podpar.com. Susan, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and Dean Publishing.
Thanks for having me, Charles. Yes, so Dean Publishing came about. I started on the entrepreneurial or the coaching journey quite early, probably in the early 2000s, when a lot of people really didn't know what coaching was. I worked with some of the greats like Dr. John Gray, who was the famous author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If they don't know John's name, they definitely know the book. So I worked a lot in the space of self-development. It was always, coming from a youth worker background, working with young adolescents. I was always about helping people. And what I found was so strong being a youth worker was these young adolescents that had lost their way didn't want to be told. I mean, who wants to be told what to do, let alone being a teenager from a broken home? What I found was the power of story. When I would tell them a story of another that may have been, without going into the details of the person, I might say, look, I knew a young girl or a young boy that did this or did that. And, they would respond with, do you think I could too? And so I really grasped that power of story from my first, interactions as a youth worker. That progressed for me to then become a life coach, a relationship coach, a business coach, an early adapter in that industry. And then, which led me, of course, to, well, how did John Gray get so known? The power of story combined with getting people's knowledge and expertise into a book would not only help transform people's lives, the readers of the book, but it would also help those CEOs, those entrepreneurs, those speakers, trainers, coaches to also allow the reader to get a little bit more of an insight into them and therefore use the book to grow their business. So for me, it encompassed everything from making a difference, personal development, helping people grow their business, making a difference in others' lives. It encompassed it all. So, of course, publishing just lit me up. And, I then created an amazing team to sort of build what we have today.
So what did you learn working with John? Women are from Venus, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, I believe it's called. I read the book for sure, and I
Yes.
learned tons from it. So what did you learn working with John?
Look, what I learned from working with John is an amazing man, a very a lot of people don't know that he didn't just write that book. He went on to write What You Feel You Can Heal, Children Are From Heaven, How to Get What You Want. There's so many different, titles that he had written. So he was an amazing man. But I think what is a tagline that I always use and live by, if our relationships are working well, then so do we. Because when we have got relationships with ourselves, relationships with our husband, wife, partner, friends, colleagues, when our relationships are working well, so do we. And I feel that when you understand that in both life and business, and you master the art form of understanding men and understanding women and understanding your staff, and how important those relationships are to the success of your life, to the success of your happiness, your business, growth, everything bases around relationships. So I think what I learned a lot from John was that we're not the same. And, men can be simple creatures, and not in a derogative way, in a way that men have needs to be met. And they are different than women. As in, I've worked with a lot of, same-sex couples. We still have needs that we need met, and there's some core things. And when we understand the other person, whether they be a male or a female, when we understand their needs, whether we call it the love language or how they like, where's their core needs. And I found that for women, they want to be heard and understood. And we really know what we want, and we talk out our problems and we come up with our solutions. But the men are on the other side trying to fix it. And we're quite capable of doing that ourselves most of the time. So that's where I find, understanding those core things. And then men need accomplishment, achievement, acknowledgement. Those type of things, light up a man. And I'm not saying this is for everyone, but even having that exploration conversation of understanding what each other needs, we don't then just give what we think we need. We understand what the other person needs. And that goes with staff, that goes with any relationship. So I just have to probably say the importance of relationships in all areas of our lives.
Love that. And what was the impact of John's book on his career?
Phenomenal. I think that when John first came up with the title, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, he actually got knocked back by a lot of publishers. They wanted to change the name. They wanted to do so much with the book. Unfortunately, that's sometimes the downfall with traditional publishing. They may not know the entrepreneurial, the reason, what do you want this book to do? Other than a traditional publisher just wants sales. So they're just looking at, will the title sell? Will the cover sell? Will the concept sell? They don't really look at, well, what's the purpose of this book other than for sales. And so, they just want to change the name, and he was adamant to stick with it. And he did eventually, obviously, get that name. Where that took him was, for someone like John, the book sales did give him a great return. If you're the next Harry Potter, if you're someone that's making huge sales, yes, you can get there and make money from a book. But typically, the average entrepreneur needs to look at a book as, what do I want this book to do? Do I want it to generate leads? Do I want it to build rapport? Do I want them to see me as the expert? So there's so much more to a book. And so with John, of course, that took him to a lot more speaking gigs, a lot more stage performance. It took him into growing his, retreats that he would run. It went on to have him be, obviously, on the Oprah Winfrey show, and give him great media opportunities. And, he's built a coaching arm. He's built a, educational arm. There's so many arms that he's built off this book. But the catalyst was around him getting his book out there, and people getting, taking him from unknown to known was really what the book, did for him, and what I believe a book can do for anybody.
Right. And you went on to found your own publishing company. How did that came about? How did that insight became something that you would actually execute upon and create your own firm?
I think that I started off by helping others create their books, like compilation books. So I would work with entrepreneurs and create their own sort of white labeled books. And that's kind of how it started. I was, in a compilation book. I'd worked with people that sort of had dabbled as part of publishing. So I needed it to be what I knew and believed that a book needed to be, but also then supporting the person through that journey, because there was a lot of information that you could find, and so many people were getting knocked back by traditional publishers, and there were so many people trying. I mean, it's changed a lot in the self-publishing, but I felt there was a gap. There was this gap of, how do we get this professional book that matches a traditional publishing book in its quality, in its professionalism, in everything that it needed to be, but how do we make it that the author gets the say, because it's their heart, it's their soul. There's some things that they might want in it for their own reasons, or for a reason that would help the reader understand more about their other products and services. So rather than a traditional publisher essentially having pretty much the say on the title and the cover and what angle it needed to go on for their outcome of book sales, I wanted something that allowed someone that was in the middle, rather than them trying to figure it out themselves, making all the mistakes, costing them a lot of money, or getting knocked back again and again by traditional publishers because they didn't think that book would sell. I wanted that middle piece. So I finally went out on my own and decided that, to enable me to create a team of people. I always believe that if you understand your team's needs, they're entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs. They don't want the responsibility of the tax and the BAS and everything else, and the investment that it takes to build a company. But they're very entrepreneurial. They're very driven and creative, and left to their own creativity, they will add value to your company like no other company. And I think that I always wanted to create a team or a company that I would like to work in, that I would like to be a part of. And so the team that I created was going to be better than me. I'm not an editor. I'm not the designer, but I wanted to create an amazing team that would help me bring my vision to life. And so I did. I've got an amazing team, and they care about the books as much as the author, and they take care of all the clients that come to me and trust in me with their story and their book. And so what was important for me was to build something that I, at the head of it, I believe that a CEO is really the top of the chain, is really what flows through to the rest of the team. And if you haven't got your shit together, or you haven't got your heart, your soul, or your passion in it, then how do you expect your team to have it? So for me, it was something that I needed to do on my own. I had this vision, and from there I just created that team for someone to come into. So what was mainly important for me was to help all these amazing people out there that have got stories, that have got knowledge, that if they could just share it forward and I could help them do that, then I believe together we can change the world, because story can transform someone's life, transform someone's business, relationships, health, wealth, spirituality. And so that was the passion, it's the education through books that lights me up, and that had me go, I need to build a business, and that's what it's going to take.
How do you find your clients?
The great thing is we get a lot of referrals, because somebody has written a book. The great thing is the book that is out there into the world is promoting us as well, because someone reads the book, they love the cover, they ask the author what was the experience, and they refer us. So a lot of us are referral. Sometimes we reach out, obviously via email, sometimes via chat, but not a robotic chat, like a genuine chat saying, look, we saw that you won this award, or we're seeing that you're doing amazing things, but you don't yet have a book. Have you ever considered that? So sometimes we can reach out to somebody that we know hasn't got a book but has got such a great message to share, and they'll go, you know what, I've always thought about it but never explored it. Yeah, let's jump on a call. So it can be that, it can be email. And we're now just about to launch another division, and that's going to be more one-to-many. So we have the one-to-one, and then we're more working to the one-to-many, where people can jump on and start learning all the ins and outs of publishing. There's a lot of ins and outs that people don't realize, like plagiarism and indexing, and how do you make sure it's referenced correctly? You know, how do you make sure that the cover is compelling? How do you get the best SEO? All these little intricacies that make the success of a book amazing. So I've just been recording that over the past year and pulling all of mine and my team's knowledge into an online course that will be supported by the team as well, so that people can, you know, learn about writing, especially if they want to write more than one book, and then jump on with the team. So I don't know whether I kind of roundabout answered that question, but yeah, basically that's sort of where we're going at the moment to, you know, help people.
And you wrote a bunch of books. Which one was your favorite? I guess the ones with the most poignant stories in which, you know, you move emotions with words and you're like, wow, this is gonna sell itself. These stories are just amazing. Like, which one were your favorites?
It's like asking someone who their favorite child is. Like, you can't do that. Look, honestly, they're all my favorites, because I think it takes a lot of courage for somebody to put themselves out there, to share their story, to share their knowledge in a book. It is like giving birth. Most people, females, will say, oh my gosh, this was just as exciting. Or men, you know, are saying, gosh, you know, it's one of their proudest moments. So I think that everyone's is amazing. We do have a couple that stood out. I think, you know, we've got a lady by the name of Erica Kramer. She wrote a book, Confidence Feels Like Shit. And it's the truth about confidence and what it really takes to create it. And I think she came from, you know, such a turbulent background, and now she speaks on stages. You know, she's catapulted herself since writing the book. She's just been picked up by Penguin to write her second book. So sometimes people can start with their own and start working and getting picked up by traditional. So they might invest in their first book and then, you know, grow from there. Some people don't even want to go down that route because they've got other ways that they want to sell their book. It might be give my book away, just pay for postage and handling. It might be that they want full control. There's lots of other ways to do it. But that one stood out just because her passion is about helping women create their confidence and get out there. But then we've done other ones, like obviously with John Gray, we did a book called Love and Coaching, and John Gray and all these coaches contributed to that. You know, we have another one, Nobody Can Save Me, redefining mental health with hope and action. And we just did another one called I Didn't Want to Die. I Just Wanted the Pain to End. These people shared their journey of wanting or attempting to take their own lives, and then what they did to turn that around. That's pretty vulnerable to share that, but to help someone. And I always say that a book can not just change a person's life, a book can save a person's life. And so those books are books that are amazing. We've just had a book called Mind Stuck, The Art of Changing Minds. That's gone phenomenal throughout. That's just been launched and been on all the media across America and Australia. It's hit the top 5 in the big idea books, you know. So there's just so many. We've had cancer stories. We've had people helping others in their finances, how to grow their businesses, their health, their wealth. How, you know, people have built up a business from an idea to a multi-million-dollar business. Who are they? Where did they come from? You know, where did they get the idea from? So there's so many but that gives you an idea of how these topics and these experts can share their knowledge, but can change and save lives. But at the same time, let people know who they are and how they can help them with their other products, coaching services, you know, that they have. So it's really about, you know, transforming multiple people's lives when you can get a really good book out there into the world.
Do you feel AI can help you write books, gather the data, come up with images in books? Have you been exploring that so far?
Yes, I have been exploring it. I think at the end of the day, like when the World Wide Web came out, changes happen. I learned how to type on a typewriter with liquid paper. So, bringing into computers and then now AI. Yes, I think that it's a combination. I think AI on its own can never do what a human can do, can never tell that personal story. I think that it makes that personal story more important than ever before because knowledge now we used to look at the Encyclopedia Britannica and look up things at a library to then looking up things on the web to now being able to ask AI anything. So knowledge is so accessible now that I think our point of difference, our uniqueness, needs to come from who we are. And nobody, just like our thumbprint, nobody has our story, our exact thinking, our exact method. So I think what's important now is that we hold true to our heart, our authenticity, and we start sharing more about who we are and our story and why we can help them. And I think that personable, I don't know what it was like in your part of the world, but when COVID hit Australia, or especially Victoria, we were the most locked down city of the world. We were locked down for months on end, and people were just having so much time on their own after cleaning out their Tupperware and their cupboards and so forth. We got to know who we are and what our uniqueness is. And I think that it's now that we've opened up and the world's opened up, who are we? And how do we share that with the world and how do we help others? So using AI to critique our copy, to critique our emails, to critique our blogs, to critique our writing, our story, our knowledge. I think that it's got to be a combination of both AI and human. And so we're starting to explore that to help people pass their writer's block. Sometimes people might get in writer's block and they kind of just need that little idea or that little voice there helping them along. AI can help with that. But we've got to be very aware of it, that it could take if you use and rely solely on AI, it could take the book down a different path. Like, what if your interpretation of, let's say, imposter syndrome, or it has a different angle than what AI thinks imposter syndrome is, or what it thinks confidence is versus your belief or your version of what confidence is and how you get it. So I think what's really important is to use it in conjunction with humans. And that goes for our team. We would never use AI without we ask the author, have you used AI? Because we need to make sure of plagiarism. But use it, yes, but use it wisely. Use it with the education that you can't totally rely on it, and it could take that book down a different path, or it might start off well and then go down the path on chapter 3 where you didn't want it to go. But to use it in conjunction with ideas to spark you along, especially in writer's block, absolutely. I think if you don't move with AI, you're going to be left behind.
Susan, where can people find out more about you?
They can go to deanpublishing.com and they can connect with me through there, jump on a call, explore, what path. Do you want to work one-to-one with the team, or do you want to go off and learn and just be supported in more of a group? So there's many ways that you can work with us and get your book out there, but in a professional and educated way. So just visit us at our website. We've obviously we're on socials as well, but going directly to our website, deanpublishing.com, is probably the best way to go.